All right, welcome everybody here to this week's showing, July the 27th of the L&P Thunder Series here at Lanes Raceway. As you can see, our racers have their cars set on there. We got a whopping 3 racers here tonight, but they're going to be racing with everything they got. We got Bruce Bullington, Glenn Burden, and Jay Latham there currently. As soon as they get their cars set up and get their controllers hooked up, we'll go green racing. All right, let's check on our racers. Racers, are you ready? All right, watch your lights.
I know I'm coming.
My wife is currently a little bit busy here. All right, there she goes. We're going to go ahead and start this. Hopefully they can keep their cars on. As we can see, same old routine. 4 red lights going to drop out to a green, and then we're going races. Part of my big old head here. Didn't feel like putting up the green screen tonight, so you're going to see a big head here tonight. As we go around first lap, Bruce Bullington out in the lead there on red lane. So the wife there, track marshalling by herself tonight. Only 3 cars. I think that she should be fine. She said she would be fine anyway, so we'll see. As we get back underway, Bruce Bullington's car coming off there, or that's Jay Latham's car coming off on green. I'm used to Bruce having the yellow car. Of course, when we first started the series, Bruce was running the yellow Cobra. You see her running around there, getting those cars put back on. Jay Latham there in third place, tied up. Bruce Bullington, Glenn Burden, both of these guys' cars coming off. We see her getting the car put back on. I've opted today to not put the glue on the track, as I felt like it was sticky enough. Some of the guys had worked a little bit on the track, getting the wood and stuff put back down on the braid where it's separated from the braid. So that's all put back together. I think the guys are just going to get their little rhythms going, and I think everything will be okay, especially when they come up off of the red, the white, and the green lanes a little bit. But Bruce Bullington, Glenn Burden right out there on top of each other. We can see the red and the green, or red and the white lanes there. As we can see the white lane of Glenn Burden coming in deep there, hitting Bruce Bullington. Both of them stopped simultaneously. Gives Jay just a little bit of an advantage there for a second. And now we see Glenn Burden pull out in the lead there on white, having a little bit of trouble getting his car put back on. But now it's kind of equal back up as we can see Glenn Burden now stepping back into second place here as he tries to catch up with Jay and Bruce. Bruce coming around the donut section there. He's our current leader. Right behind him, we have Glenn Burden, but Jay Latham now just one lap behind since they both had a little bit of a wreck. As we can see, Glenn Burden fixing to make the pass on Jay Latham, but Jay Latham sticking her wide out there on the donut portion of the track. Both of these cars coming off underneath the bridge, giving Jay the little bit that he needed. We see Glenn Burden there on white lane able to make another lap there as he takes back over first place. Bruce Bullington now in second place with 24 total laps there on red. White lane there of Glenn Burden, your current leader, as he comes to reel in Bruce yet again there on red lane. Kind of them all three spaced out there a little bit as they roll around the back stretch. Of course, Glenn Burden there getting just a little bit more of a stickier advantage there coming into Dead Man's Corner. He's able to drive it just a hair deeper than Bruce is, giving him somewhat of an advantage as both of them kind of tie up a little bit coming around the S-turns and the donut, respectively. We see Glenn Burden making a dodgy move there, dive bombing down real low there on the donut, but Bruce Bullington not giving an inch as Bruce puts his defenses up around the donut portion of the track. Glenn Burden there still wanting to make that pass as he gets the back end of Bruce Bullington, making a risky move there, get paid in risky terms, I suppose. Nonetheless there, he's being able to reel that back end just a smidge as Bruce Bullington's holding him off, and that's what you got to do there on red lane. You got to use that donut to your advantage, be kind of sticky quill there for sure, showing the guys on your inside that, you know, hey, I got to run this way. But Glenn Burden was able to make the pass, and now he's going to try to catch another lap before the end of this heat, if he can, on Bruce and Jay. We see Jay Latham there with 42 total laps, now keeping his car on quite well there on the green lane as he's pushing the subject. Earlier, before he started the race, he says, you know, probably should swap this out to an Eagle motor as he's just now starting to break in a Hawk 7 motor. We know the break-in process of a Hawk 7 is sometimes takes a little bit of time, especially if you don't take the time to break it in with a power supply. So we got a car off underneath the bridge here. That is Bruce Bullington's car there, 50 laps. He gets pushed out through the bridge there. My wife goes to get him put back on there the best he can. Of course, costing Bruce quite a few laps there, but she's running a live track here. Looks pretty good with three cars. Everybody running the best that they can. It's going to be a lot more punishing as we got one track marshal here to come off the track. So this is where I reiterate, like I always do, the very much important part of just keeping your car on the track. We definitely want to see those cars staying on the track, because if they don't stay on the track, you know, it takes my wife a lot longer to get you put back on. So far, everybody pretty close together here as we see Jay Latham taking over the second position. Bruce Bullington kind of falling off there as he got caught up in that where that my wife had to come around from the inside of the donut all the way to the outside to get him put back on, eventually getting pushed all the way through the donut there. Red lane being quite detrimental for a lot of the cars here. We can see Bruce Bullington get put back on there yet again on red lane. 62 total laps. Jay Latham 67 and Glenn Burden 71. Glenn Burden there still out in the lead, running a pretty tight little run here with his, I believe he's running the monster body there on his car, the silver and green. As we get a red flag rotation, this marks about a 3-minute time period where the guys can go work on their cars. So we go here to take a quick look here at the laps turned here. Still pretty close lap run. 71, Jay was able to keep his car on there towards the end, getting it within 3 laps to Glenn Burden there. Bruce Bullington having quite a few wrecks there towards the end on red lane. Cost him to drop from all the way up from first place at one point all the way down to third. We'll see if he could pull that off and maybe gain those laps back up as we continue on here. I'll leave you guys with the current standings as of July the 23rd for the L&P Thunder Series. You kind of see where these guys are located here. You know, right now Glenn Burden going to add 74 laps the first heat there. It's going to be pretty good for Glenn as he wants to make up a couple hundred laps there, maybe getting to the third position here tonight, as we don't see Tom or Paul here for this race. So he might actually have a little bit of a chance to push up to that third position. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back here in a short little break period, and I'll see you when we go back green. All right, folks. Sorry about the delay we're having here. As you can see, we're paused at 1 minute and 3 seconds. It's going to be about a 4 minute or so delay as we have a rain delay here on the track. One of the track personnel might have been involved in an incident. I don't know what it is exactly, other than yellow lane kind of come up in the air and was kind of wadded up. So we did our best to roll that back down, and we're just waiting on the track to dry. So as soon as the rain lets up and the track dries a little bit, we'll be back underway. In the meantime, though, I guess we can come out here and talk to a few of our racers here, since we're in our round robin 2 of 8. Bruce Bullington, seen a strong start out there at the beginning of the race. You and Glenn Burden there battling it for first place. What happened there towards about middle of the way when you started having quite a few wrecks there?
Oh, I was trying to drive in deeper than I should, and it got away from me. Not enough throttle control.
So just testing out the new tires, trying to see if they'll hook a little.
Yeah, trying to, you never know until you try it, but it ended up costing me.
Well, surely you can bring some of those laps back, as this race is still quite tight, as we can see. Glenn Burden, have you tried anything different with the old monster machine out there this week?
Nope. Just put a new set of tires on it and let her eat.
New set of tires. Would that happen to be the big boy hub 510s?
Yes, it would be.
Carbine fiber?
Yep, Paul Woosley missed out. I bought the last 2 sets.
Oh, Paul Woosley. Yeah, he's going to be upset. He come in here yesterday and asked if I had any, and, it's sad to say that, out of all those 10 pairs, evidently you bought them all. So, I think Bruce got a pair too. And did Jay get a pair?
I don't think so. I tried to talk him into it, but he said, nah, wait.
So, Jay, he's not yet turned over to the big boy hubs. But we'll see if we can get some more of those big boy hubs back here at Lanes Raceway. I know that they are a popular set of tires. Right now, guys, we're on a rain delay. We're waiting for the track to dry. Be about another 3 or so minutes. We'll be back green racing. As you can tell here, maybe from the screen, you can see me. The problem is right here in Dead Man's Corner here on the yellow lane. Probably see better from this camera angle here, but it's right here is the problem on the track. And what had happened is the yellow lane had come up and make like a horseshoe. My wife brought my attention just a while ago, so it looks like maybe one of the cars come off and actually took a chunk of the track out. So we got that rolled out. In the meantime, we're just letting the track dry a little bit. And then, like I said, we'll be back green racing. Don't forget, here at Raceway, we have pinball tournaments, and right now they are live. On in and test your skill here at Lanes Raceway against some of our other professional pinball players. Some of the guys are really, really good at being able to manipulate the ball and put it where they want it. But definitely come in and check out, test your skills, and or maybe you stand amongst the crowd for sure, as it's been quite popular here at Lanes Raceway. Nonetheless, we'll be back going green racing here in just a few moments. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you guys here with a little bit of the current pinball scores, as you see me here in the booth. And we'll be right back with you guys. All right, folks. It looks like the track is now officially dry here at Lanes Raceway. So we should be going by green racing just as soon as we see the racers make their spots here. All right, racers, the rain delay is over. Everybody ready? Watch your lights. And here we go, folks. The rain delay's done. So we're going to see 4 red lights drop into a green, and we're going green racing. Like I said before, don't forget, we do have pinball machines here at Lanes Raceway. You can come in anytime, try your skill against our other players. You can keep track of their scores upon our leaderboard that we have here right next to the pinball tables, and see where you stand amongst the crowd of skilled pinball players. Back to green racing, we can see Jay Latham just a couple laps down from Glenn Burden. We see my wife there getting the car Bruce Bullington put back on. He let us know there during the break that, he's just pushing those tires, seeing what they can do, trying to let that car step out a little bit more and more each time. So we see a dive bomb down there done by Glenn Burden there with his monster body. He's actually got his baby area in tune for sure, running in the top portions of our racers there on Sunday. As we see him get a little bit of a hiccup there through the S portion turn of the track there. Glenn Burton's going to be pushing today for everything that he can to get every last lap. As you can tell, the race here is a little bit light. We see old King Kirtley up there in the top right-hand portion of your screen. He has opted today to help Lanes Raceway versus getting into a race. He has all 8 of his races, so he's actually working on pinball lights right now. He's wiring up some pinball lights so that when we have our Friday night lights here at pinball, and slot car racing, that when we turn the lights down, you can still see the pinball machines. So we're getting a bunch of those wired up and be able to keep this place nice and cool. Plus the LED lights with the neon glow rolling out here in Lanes Raceway definitely adds to the atmosphere when the music's playing. And we have us a blast here at Friday Night Lights. Don't forget, coming up, I think it's August the 5th, we're going to celebrate our 1-year anniversary here at Lanes Raceway. Plan on having all the pinball machines turned on free. Come on in, buy you some food and snacks here at Lanes Raceway. Enjoy the atmosphere and enjoy the celebration that we're going to have here at Lanes Raceway. And we might even have a race if we get enough racers here. But we just want to celebrate and give back to the community that's given us so much. And we do appreciate all those that have given what they have given here to Lanes Raceway and to the community as a whole for slot car racing. I will tell you what, we knew in our minds anyway, me and my brother and my dad before we started this thing, that it was going to be something. We never would have imagined that it would have been something so quickly. But we do thank the Lord for that, and it's definitely been a blessing. And I'll tell you what, it's been a journey too. I really expect to increase this journey also as much as we can, pushing always to the limits that we possibly can here for slot car racing. I know our racers are doing such, as we see Jay Latham now taking the lead, 116 to 116 to Glenn Burden. Glenn Burden there on red lane. Jay Latham really running tight blue lane here. Best lap at 3.537. It's about a tenth of a second faster than the other guys there. But right now, what's really making the biscuits here is not wrecking. As we can see him turning 51 laps to the closest next to him there, Bruce Bullington gaining a lap there at 50. But 123, Jay Latham, Glenn Burden. Like I said, we can see Bruce Bullington right there behind Glenn Burden, our second place runner right now. Of course, Bruce Bullington wanting to get every single lap that he could possibly get on Glenn, but Glenn's making it quite hard because Glenn knows how to run that red lane quite tightly. Might have learned that from Randy Kirtley. Of course, Randy Kirtley loves running the red lane. It's one of his favorite lanes. And we can see here that Glenn is running right now currently 57 total laps. Jay Latham, though, out there on blue lane, one of the lanes that most people choose whenever they first start running on the orange track. So, quite frankly, it's one of the lanes that people hardly ever mess up on. And we can see that Jay Latham is able to run very, very fastly on the blue lane, consecutively speaking here, 1 lap better than everybody else. Now, two. As we watch Jay here run these laps here on blue lane, we can see he's coming around the donut portion here, trying to make a lap up on Glenn Burden there on red. Glenn getting a little sideways during the S turn. Now, every time you get a little sideways like that and step out a little bit more than the front end of the car, you are losing time. But you can always make that up just by blipping the trigger just a hair to get that set back into place and get that under control and run it. And as we can see, Glenn Burden's really fending off Jay here's attacks. Of course, Jay, having to let up a little bit when it comes around the horseshoe. And of course, the dive bomb, he's able to dive bomb just a little bit deeper and carry that speed around the donut. Now, just because he can carry the speed around the donut, it's almost a must to be able to gain anything on Glenn, as Glenn has a sharper radius there on the donut, and that's what's making him be able to defend as well as he was. So Glenn Burden now going to take back over first place as we can see him out in the lead here. Jay Latham to follow, though, with 152. So Jay coming all the way back from that third position all the way to first position here. We'll swap over here, and you can take a look. Jay Latham running 81 laps, our first racer here today to hit the 80 mark. Of course, our record here at Lanes Raceway is 90 laps, only to be made by Paul Woosley and Randy Kirtley so far in this series. But right now we can see a tie going on, 76 average laps done by Jay Latham and Glenn Burden with a total laps of 152 with 2 heats rolling. Bruce Bullington there with 145, actually turning better green lane than Jay turned. So we'll see how this race develops as we progress through. This only being our second round robin heat. We still have 6 to go, folks. So stay tuned with us. I'm going to leave you with the current standings here and be right back with you. All right, folks, we are back. As you can see, the race already started without me out there talking pinball terminology there to Kip Dern, also known as Kippy. You can check in there and see him on some of the breaks that we have and see where he's located currently on the pinball. It's getting tighter, closer to the day of it about being over. It is the 27th of the month. It ends August the 1st. Actually, I think it ends the 31st, but nonetheless, our leaderboard ends the 1st. So after that, everything will be tallied up and see who ends up winning the tournament. It's going to be pretty great. Jay Latham still out in the lead there on Purple Lane. We can see him coming around the backstretch up underneath the donut portion, back around the backstretch. He's trying to reel in these 2 cars in front of him. First car would be Glenn Burden, but Glenn Burden really pushing hard to be able to, as he comes off right there in the donut. Glenn Burden, that is, giving Jay just a little bit of time to catch back up and grab a few more laps if he can. Jay Latham right now 17 laps, Bruce Bullington 17 laps, Glenn Burden 16 because of that wreck there in the donut. But we can see that if the smoother these guys get, the better. Because, like I said, if you stay smooth here and don't wreck, that's what it's going to boil down here when everybody is literally right at the same amount of time best lap turn, 3.4, 3.5 seconds. We're talking about a tenth of a second. You're better off just keeping your car in the slot and gaining those laps and just wait on people to wreck. That's what it's going to boil down to in this race, to see who's going to be first, who's going to be second, and who's going to be third tonight. Of course, Thursday nights tend to be a little bit slower than our Sunday night races. I almost like to think of them as a warm-up or a prelude to the main event on Sunday, as Sunday is quite popular day. We get a lot of racers in here, both Little Rumble and Rookie Rumblers, on top of all of our LMP Thunder racers. We see a car coming completely off right there. That is the car of Jay Latham. Jay Latham, our second place runner right now. And as we've seen a lot of fluctuation here, everybody's still within a means of being able to catch each other. Just 6 laps separates everybody on the race field here. So a lot of this has to do with just over-aggression in the trigger finger. And then, of course, not gluing down the track like I have before, because I feel like there's plenty of glue on it. And I think there comes a point where you just put too much glue on stuff. But as we get a car coming off there, I'm going to hit a yellow flag because I seen a car off on the back stretch there. My wife was able to get that car back on in a quick fashion, so I'll go ahead and hit that for her. Glenn Burton there, 41 laps. He's your current leader there on green lane. And as you can see here, the blue lane and the purple lane neck and neck. That's Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington. And we can see Jay kind of lagging behind just a little bit from Bruce. Bruce trying to push the point with his new set of big boy 510 hubs. Jay Latham coming off there, trying to get Jay on those big boy hubs. So far, the big boy hub tires have been prevailing out in front as of late. This is the tire made popular by Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley, our current past 2 races champion, and our current lap holder for the LMP Thunder Series, turning, I think it was 689 total laps. He ended up beating the lap record there. But he's tied for the most laps in a heat with 90, and I think he done that on blue lane. So pretty much when you see blue lane, if you can hit 90 laps or above, we're waiting on somebody to hit that 91 mark. But he's tied with King Kirtley there in the upper right-hand portion of your screen there in the orange shirt. Both of them running 90 laps respectfully. Of course, Paul Woosley on vacation right now. Also, Tom Payton on vacation. A couple of our other racers, as you know, cannot make the race on Thursday. But some of the guys here on Thursday can't make the race on Sunday. So we like to make it to where that guys are always eligible to make those races. Now, Jay Latham, of course, not being able to make the race last week. He's making that race up today. And we'll see if he can turn any more laps here with his non-weighted car today. As we can see right now, he's having some issues keeping the car on the track. But him and Bruce Bullington there neck and neck fighting for second position here. Right there coming around purple lane. Of course, purple lane causing a little bit of trouble for some of the faster cars. Jay Latham's car, of course, getting faster every time that we see it. Is this a full J? It was almost a full J. We had 2 of the cars involved in that incident. A little bit of a bulldoze move made by Glenn Burton, was able to keep his car on. And like I said, the past couple weeks since Glenn's changed his body to the monster body, the Lola body that we sell here at Lanes Raceway from JK, that thing has been hooking. Right now, Glenn Burton, you're a leader by almost 10 full laps. 232 total laps, doing nothing but sticking to the track. Now Glenn Burton there running that 80-lap threshold there. As we can see, he's now precipiced over to 80, and currently our fastest runner on green lane. Also, he's got a very respectful lane of 78 total laps there on red lane. 74 laps, probably a little bit low for a white lane, but man, I'll tell you what, 78 laps there on red lane for tonight, that's quite well and good. 77.3 on average for Glenn Burton, a 74.3 and a 74.3 of Bruce and Jay. It seems like every heat we have at least 2 racers on the same average, almost as if they're kind of getting in the same flow of one another. Going to leave you guys here with some of our latest pinball tournament scores for a little bit of a commercial break here. You can see old Kippy there on our leaderboard. There in 10th place on Mandalorian. And, of course, he was the one asking about questions about the pinball and stuff. Like I said, we got a couple more days in the pinball tournament. And after that, we'll be starting probably another pinball tournament. But in the meantime, it'll show you the results for our July pinball tournament. All right, we're going back green racing. And we can see here, Glenn Burton able to take that first lap. Bruce Bullington coming off there real quick, but T able to get him put back on there in the donut portion of the track. Oh, and a little bit of a wreck there from behind as Jay Latham takes a hit from behind. Gets put back on Black Lane. Black Lane pretty tough coming around the horseshoe. It's all about timing on that. See Glenn Burton there out in the lead there on blue lane as he goes to try to reel in Bruce Bullington down on purple lane. All of them coming into three wide traffic here around the donut. We can see Glenn Burton pushing just a little bit deeper there on blue lane, being able to make that pass there on Bruce Bullington. But Bruce Bullington giving it back as he comes around the horseshoe, gaining a little bit of that time back up. Bruce coming off of that horseshoe right there. Losing a lap there, but he's back in the mix with these three yet again. And so we see Glenn Burton able to dive bomb a little bit lower than Jay Latham there. Jay could probably dive bomb it just a hair more since he's on black lane. We see Bruce getting caught up there yet again on purple lane through the horseshoe. Like I said, these tighter radiuses around horseshoe, it's kind of a reverse to the donut. So the donut, your tighter races are on red, white, and green. But we can see these guys here hitting these tighter radiuses around the horseshoe, sometimes getting hung up. We got a car off underneath the bridge here. As we see my wife reach up underneath there to grab it. She hits the track call button there. That track call button recently installed by Guillermo Sire, so we appreciate him making that for us here. Of course, Guillermo Sire is in our LMP Thunder series here. Makes some really good power supplies, too. I think Jay Latham has one of his power supplies, and Randy Kirtley has one of his power supplies. But he's an engineer by trade, and I'll tell you what, when it comes to building motors, he builds some of the fastest for sure. He's done some work for a couple of our racers here. And that yellow flag for my wife there real quick. But it looks like she had it under control. I just beat her to the punch. Quick with this mouse button sometimes whenever I see there's a need for it. But we can see Glenn Burton there still in the lead, 36 total laps. He's got 4 more laps up on Jay alone as he is really dive bombing and pushing it hard. He's kind of running into an own little run of itself here, as Glenn does definitely have the most skill, as he just plows down a car there in a horseshoe. That car being Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington back on though, and everybody running as hard as they possibly can for sure as they're trying to make those laps. Sometimes the cars get themselves in their own way. As we see a car go to the outside there, my wife was able to get that put back on. That car to the outside was Jay Latham there on Black Lane. Dive bombing down low, though, I'll tell you what, for this heat at least, Glenn Burden is running an exceptional blue lane, getting his car into the 3.3s. We do know from previous experience here that cars in the 3.3 range are definitely on the higher portion of the speed. With those cars being in that 3.3 range, that is average high pace. So if you can get your car to constantly run a 3.3, all you got to do is run it and just wait on people to wreck. As we get several more cars coming off yet again there in the horseshoe, like I said, this being a harsh part of the track when these cars are on black, purple, and yellow, my wife was able to get them put back on. I went ahead and helped her out there with pause of the track, as I can see what's going on in here just like she can see what's going on out there. And her little bitty legs sometimes can't keep up with how many cars are coming off the track. It's about the limit of what you want to see here with cars for one track marshal. Of course, my wife being the only track marshal there is, she's having to run all the way around the track to get these cars back on. That's why we definitely encourage people to try to keep their cars on the best that they possibly can to keep our track marshals from losing too much weight and having to eat an extra meal each day. Nonetheless, Glenn Burden out in the lead by several laps, about 7 to be exact. Jay Latham there holding it together the best that he can. I'm fighting flies in here. This one fly is killing me. Just messing with me. I'll get him eventually. Trust me, I will get him. I'll hit him with the microphone. Y'all hear the thump in the phone, I'm telling you. On the backstretch, though, we're seeing a battle form here between Jay and Bruce. Both Jay and Bruce running each other very, very tight. And this is what's causing that competition to take place out of the S-turns, causing them to pop out just a hair there in the horseshoe. As we get a full wall rider there done by Jay Latham. Jay Latham looking like, oh, he's going to put somebody in the wall. And that person he put in there, of course, Bruce Bullington. Going to help my wife out there a little bit. Takes me just a little bit of time to get to that clicker. I'm trying to help you. She's hot, she says. She's trying to do her best to get these cars, but it's funny. We get 1 or 2 cars crash on one side. She got to run to the other side real quick. So we'll try to help her the best that we can. As we get 2 cars popping off right here, getting hung up there. Hey, T, is that track, is it raised up right there in the horseshoe? You might want to take the braid roller and just roll it. Looks like cars are grabbing there an awful lot. Going to have her check that track right there in the horseshoe, make sure it ain't rolling up on these guys. As we can see several of the cars there popping off right there in the horseshoe. Just now looking down here at myself in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see nothing but the mustache. Hello, Mother. Looks like Glenn Burton's going to be able to roll that track out nice. Of course, he knows what a nice prep track looks like. Our braid roller there. I don't know where we got that braid roller at, but man, it's been a good one. Tell T. Something come out of the track there. Huh? T did. Yeah, she likes to paint spooky pictures for sure. Always night scenes with scary looking trees with no leaves on it. She loves dead trees. All right, as we're back green race, and we see 3 wide yet again here. This could spell disaster, as we can see there in the horseshoe. Jay Latham's car coming out on black, losing a total of a lap there. Jay Latham now down 11 laps to Glenn Burton. Bruce Bullington down 2 laps to Jay Latham. As we can see our current leader, Glenn Burton there on blue lane, making a shot in front of Bruce Bullington. his car able to hold quite well. I can't really say enough about this, but those bodies, those Lola bodies, really, even though they have no side wings, they are exceptionally low to the ground, and I think this does give some an advantage to being able to hold to the track. Now, they are definitely not the prettiest body for sure, but we can see Glenn Burden here on his blue lane turning 3 laps more than Jay did. And it looks like, now Glenn just consecutively hitting those 80 marks for sure. His average now 79 total laps, followed by Jay Latham with 74, Bruce Bullington 73.2. I'm going to leave you guys here with a little bit of pinball tutorials here by Abe.
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm gonna explain to you pinball skills in depth. Aiming and shooting, the basics. General rule for aiming. To begin with, you can use the playfield's artwork as a name guide. Each shot on the playfield has a different spot on the flipper, and the timing determines the direction of the ball. The same rule applies to the upper flipper, but those shots might be harder due to the increased ball speed and different angle of view. General rule for ball speed. The faster a ball rolls down the flipper, the more you have to compensate by shooting earlier. Here is a comparison between an inlane feed and a start from a cradle. Notice how much the shot position on the flipper changes. Shots near the tip of the flipper are tricky, because the ball accelerates as it rolls down the flipper and the possible time frame for a shot is shortened. Shots from a cradle. Shooting from a cradle will rule out most obstructive factors, and it's the safest possible way to shoot. Trap the ball until it's completely still, since the slightest ball movement can affect the shot. Learn essential tools for trapping like drop catches and live catches. I highly recommend to make them part of your skill set. Shots from an inlane feed. As you learn to shoot from an inlane feed, you will notice that the increased ball speed has an adverse effect on your shot accuracy. Counter the ball speed by flipping earlier and relearn the timing for each shot. Going back and forth between a feed from the inlane and the cradle start for the same shot will benefit you the most, since you can learn and understand the connection between ball speed and the shot timing. It may be tempting to just shoot from a cradle because it's safer. However, I highly recommend to also practice shots from an inline feed, since it makes you a better player and it's way more fun. Practice. One way to practice is to repeat the shot 5 times in a row without missing. When accomplished, you can repeat that with another shot. Now alternate both shots until you made 3 combos in a row. Combine and extend this formula with different shots and set your own goals. If you notice that you keep failing on a certain shot, address the problem by identifying the cause and overcome it by shot repetition. Most misses are timing related, so keep saying to yourself too early or too late.
All right, we're back green racing, and a wreck already ensues here. As we can see my wife quickly getting that car, Bruce Bullington, put back on the black lane there. Bruce coming off on the backstretch there. We're going to have to hit a yellow flag there as he come off on the backstretch. Of course, a couple more questions about pinball in the break. So for those that don't know, our scoreboard shows those that are signed into Stern Insider. So if you are signed into Stern Insider, it will show up on there. Now, we'll only show one of your scores, and that is the best score that you have possibly done. So you're only going to fill one spot on that board, and it's going to be the best score that you've done on that said pinball machine. Now, for our tournament, it's 5 different people that place in the tournament. Now, that 5 different people can be you 5 different times if you hold the top 5 scores, and that's just how we do it. So, in other words, you want to get one of those spots, you got to be good. You best know how to play pinball. Of course, Big Daddy 3, also known as Glenn Burden there with the Lucas Oil shirt, is a straight-up pinball pro here at Lanes Raceway. Anytime he sees anybody threatening one of his scores, he likes to come in and give it the old what for and try to knock these people down. That's the whole point of competition, folks. Always pushing to get to the higher mark. So if you want to be on the higher mark, you got to really put in the time and concentrate, and it takes a lot of concentration to stay on top. We see a little bit of a stare down between him and my mom, as my mom's trying to get up on that board too, really trying her best to be a pinball master also. And I will say it like this: she does make Glenn sweat every once in a while when it comes down to playing some pinball. Of course, she had a pretty high score there on Iron Maiden earlier this week, and it's been holding for quite some time. Also on The Mandalorian, she's got a high score. And of course, Glenn Burden, he come in last night, and he was bound and determined to take her out, I believe, on Jurassic Park and Iron Maiden. And of course, he did so. And he had all day to do it. But by the time he was done, he said his wrist was hurting. Of course, if you're playing pinball right, you're slapping the pinball table, you're shaking the pinball table, you're doing whatever you can to keep it from draining. And Glenn is a very masterful technician when it comes to doing said things. But by the end of the night, he shook the pinball table and slapped it so many times, his wrist hurts. But the better you get at that, the better you have of keeping your mind locked in tight to those balls, for sure. We just got recently brand new balls on all of our pinball machines to help make smoother shots, quicker ball transactions, the whole nine. It's just all the way around better for every one of the pinball machines too, as they say, smoother. So there, my mom, she says she's leaving for the night. Pinball's done whooped her for the night. And like I said, it is very fatiguing having to keep such track of the ball. You wouldn't think it is, but think how like a cat chasing a laser. It's essentially how you feel when you play pinball a lot of the times. And getting that control under the ball, cradling the ball, sometimes very difficult, especially with new balls and nice clean play field and everything like that. But at the same aspect, if you have those clean play fields and everything's really nice like that, in turn, you're able to make your shots a lot cleaner too. And of course, I love making sure that our pinball tables are in tip-top shape. I'm always checking the coils. I'm always cleaning things, blowing stuff out. Of course, every week we clean the pinball machines and put a fresh coat of wax. We actually clean the wax off with naphtha. And then once we do that, then we put a fresh coat on it. We use the naphtha to clean the rubbers. Whenever the rubbers get so bad and they don't bounce hardly at all anymore, we replace those. So we definitely keep our pinball machines in the tip-top shape. Like I said, we just this past week put multi-balls from Pin Sound in all of our machines, and they're some of the top-rated pinballs you can get. Super classy for sure, and they've been received very well. A lot of people really enjoy the precision that those balls bring. They're so smooth you can't even hardly hear them rolling. Like I said, also there in the upper right-hand portion of your screen, Randy Kirtley there making some pin lights or pin stadium lights for our pinball machines so that you can better see without any kind of glare or refraction, because a lot of our pinball tables are pro and they do not have the HD glass in them to stop that light refracting. So you almost need light shining down at the play field so that you don't get that glare. Also, when we shut the lights off in here, it makes everything super dark, but with those lights, it makes it where that you can see it. But back to racing, it looks like, well, we might be under a red flag condition here. Maybe another rainstorm rolled on through. As you know, we got to wait and let the track dry a little bit. It's what it looks like. Some of the braid coming up. Of course, we had a few of the cars there getting caught up in the horseshoe portion of the track. Looks like Bruce Bulletin's decided he's taking over here to roll the track down with our braid roller. He actually come in here earlier and cleaned that braid roller. You don't expect them to get that dirty, but rolling a lot of glue through them and a lot of tire glue and stuff like that, they tend to get a little bit dirty every once in a while. We are on round robin 5 of 8. A lot of track trouble here tonight. This track's been getting abused in the LMP Thunder Series. 5-minute heats, a lot of heats. One good thing is, though, these guys' motors are definitely cooling down and probably taking a pretty good advantage from this drying session. But I'll be right back with you whenever we get some more information. We'll see you soon. All right, folks, it looks like everybody's ready. All right, racers, get ready. And we're going to see those 4 red lights drop out into a green. If you're wondering why I'm holding a wireless microphone, well, our other microphone got dropped last week, and it was causing a lot of feedback issues and stuff messing up with it. So, anyways, I'm on a wireless microphone here. Glenn Burden, our leader, going to make that dive bomb move down low on the yellow car of Jay Latham. Looks like he makes it in kind there very, very fastly as he rolls around the donut portion. He's trying to come back up on the black lane of Bruce Bullington, just now coming around the horseshoe in the backstretch, about a half a lap down from Bruce. As Bruce comes off and Glenn comes off, both these cars coming off, both of them getting put back on. Glenn getting his car put back on just a hair faster as we see a hang up there yet again with the guide flag of Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington's guide flag seems to be grabbing a little bit inside of the horseshoe there. This tends to be a lot of the times some of the guys using the weighted guide flags, the weight kind of steps out to the side and kind of grabs, and then if the guide flag's just a little bit too long, it'll grab in those tighter portions of the track like that. Or I've seen it here recently with the Mid-America guide flags with those arrow point tips. If you don't hit the corner just perfectly and let the car lean on the outside corner, it will dig into the corner, causing the braid to roll up and causing you to essentially flip out. So it's all about rhythm can sometimes be the issue. The Mid-America guide flags are great if you know the rhythm of the track and you know how to transfer the weight of the cars. They're great with that arrow tip because it makes you a little bit more streamlined. But if you don't know the rhythm perfectly, you can actually have your car to dig into those portions of the track, causing you to flip out. And all that takes is just for you to miss one corner. If you miss one corner, your next corner is off a little bit unless you completely let off. As we get a car to come to a stall there on the black lane, Jay Latham touching to make sure it's in. Hopefully we don't have an issue with a broke braid wire or something like that. Having a few issues here tonight, nonetheless. Most of them have been track related. The track, of course, having quite a few rainstorms roll through it, almost to a full-blown rain out here. But we've had a couple brave racers decided to come on through the weather here and fight the weather and maybe clear outside here in Livermore, but inside Lanes Raceway, it's definitely coming down a rainstorm. The track's coming unseated, and we're having to wait and let it dry to be able to get that braid stuck back down. We've got another car off here, getting a little bit of a love touch there by Jay Latham, just enough to get it out of the way there. Bruce Bullington having quite a bit of trouble keeping his car on the track this week. I don't want to always blame it on the body, but sometimes I believe I see, just by watching the guys race as much as I do see a lot of, like, for instance, Bruce wasn't having as much issues when he was running his Cobra body coming off the track. Since he's put this new body on, I'm seeing a whole lot more of him coming off. So I would just assume, just from what I'm seeing, the only thing that I can think of would be that body is causing him to handle differently, in turn causing him to have to use his trigger differently, in turn causing him to come off. And that's why I say, I see the same thing happen to Glenn. He was running the Audi body, which I loved the way it looked, silver and red, and just a pretty body. But he was having a lot of issues coming off with it. He changes his body. He's got the monster body, that Lola body from JK, which has been very, very popular here in the LMP Thunder Series. He changes that, and I mean, he's slipstreaming tonight. You can see it. He's 20 or so laps ahead of everybody else. Almost every heat, he's a couple laps ahead of everybody, just simply because he's not wrecking. Buying his time, like I said, and just keeping his car on the track. And I do believe bodies do make a grand effect a lot of the time, since we see Glenn Burden's car come harshly off the track right there. As we get a flag call here, I had to quickly do that. I heard them yelling out there. It kind of made me nervous, like somebody was fixing to get their car yard sailed. That's just a slang term that I use for cars fixing to get wadded up into a wall, and they're no more good than a 25-cent sale at a yard sale. So definitely want to hit that track call as quick as you can to keep that from taking place. Like I said, right now, these guys kind of stepping each other out just a little bit. Jay Latham a little bit closer to Glenn than he is Bruce. Bruce having, like I said, a lot of trouble here tonight. His car right now on its side here. And I think a lot of it has to do with just aerodynamics. The aerodynamics of that body, a lot stiffer, a lot more rollover, causing some issues there. Can it be easily fixed? I believe it's not going to be just as easy as fixing the body. It could be bent from the wrecks that it's already been involved in. But Bruce knows how to take a chassis all the way apart, get her right back to true. But if he did get it back to true, a body similar to what we see Glenn Burden having there on Purple Lane would probably be a good choice to move to keep that car nice, flat, and true. Especially as fast as Bruce's cars are, he tends to make them super, super fast on the straight stretches. And he needs that aerodynamic advantage, that flatted body to keep him handling really, really well around the corners. As for Jay Latham, out of the two bodies he has this one in a Lola body, stickered up like a old Gulf car. We can tell that he handles a lot better with this yellow DHL car than he does with the Lola body. Now, I've had a few other guys, Tom Payton and Glenn Burden both have one of those Lola bodies. Glenn Burden has a Sky Active one, and Tom Payton has a Lotus body. The body's handled decent for what they are. But like I said, I believe they're a little top heavy in consideration to some of these other bodies that we see. Just remember, the lower you go, the better the car sticks, in my opinion. Now, the more slipstreamed you are also, too, in the same aspect. But I think the trade-off is a whole lot greater. Glenn Burden there out in the lead, 391 total laps, followed by Jay Latham, 369. Bruce Bullington, 358 to round up your top three. Averages ranging between 7 on average. I'm going to leave you guys with the current standings as of July 23rd, and I'll be right back with you whenever we get out of the break. All right, folks, We are back and going green racing. Glenn Burton to turn your first lap. In the break, I'm on another drink. Knee high, folks, in the bottle here at Lanes Raceway. Woo, look at that chrome label. It's not really a chrome label, it's green. But being that we have chroma correction, because I didn't put up the green screen today, it looks like it's chrome. It's not, though. As we can see Glenn Burton there on his favorite lane, black lane, pulling the old Bobby Pierce coming around there as he's ripping as hard as he can with it. We can see him coming up on the outside wall there. Randy Kirtley now stepping in to help do a little bit of track marshaling. We appreciate that. Just recently seen some of the pinball lights he's made using RGB. Was able to tie it all together and make them white lighted. The white light's very similar to the white light you see here on the orange track here. That's RGB all tied together, basically red, green, and blue together, making a white light. That's about as white as you get it. I know it kind of comes off like a shade of blue, but nonetheless, it's halfway decent. I said it'd look really good on Godzilla for sure. But adding that extra bit of light definitely helps, especially so that you can see what shots you got to make and stuff like that. We want to try to make it as best as we can. I know you hear me talk a lot about pinball, but half of Lanes Raceway is pinball. During the race, if nothing spectacular is taking place, I tend to segue into talking about pinball just for that reason. We even have spots on here, pin sounds and Stern headphone jacks and everything else to be able to hook in if you really want to get involved and just hear the machine itself. You can hook your own headset up and really focus in on pinball while everybody else is slot car racing or playing their own pinball machine. We want to give that opportunity to those people. We have live streamed a few times of the pinball. Whoa, Glenn Burton coming off hard there around the donut. Both him and Bruce Bullington riding that wall. Pushing a little bit harder. This lets me know that, maybe I should have put a little bit of glue around the donut as they are really forcing it home. But nonetheless, we can see Glenn Burton there turning a great lap of 3.344 and a median of 3.48. He's right there on the precipice of breaking over. Really going to start turning those 3.3 second lap times, probably having a median of a 3.3 constant here for too long as he's running a median of 3.48. It's just a matter of time. It just takes you getting used to the car that you're driving. And like I said, I've seen this happen with Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley here it's the drive of a man. He comes in and, at the beginning of the season, where most people would get discouraged, not Paul, him and Tom both coming in here and Glenn, and they were just all work together. And, finally one day we all come together. It was a day it wasn't too busy, and I ran his car around and I gave my input on it. Of course, we did a few modifications to the car, and then from that point, he kind of took off from his own point and kind of worked on it a little bit after that. And it is now the car that you see Paul Woosley driving, and it's almost untouchable, folks. He's essentially built a car around itself in the way that he drives. This fly, I know y'all have seen it right there, and man, it's killing me. Trying to go after my eyeballs. I think it's looking for salt. I don't know. But nonetheless, Paul Woosley puts in the time. You put in the time here, and you really focus in and say, hey, I'm going to beat that. You get paid in dividends for sure. And like I said, Paul's put in that time, and I'm sure he'd love to be here right now, but at the same time, he'd love to be at the lake. And he is definitely a fish on land for sure. Loves the water, and don't blame him for taking a beautiful vacation, as I would too also, if having free time. We got a little bit of a battle taking place here between Jay and Bruce, side by side, neck by neck, coming around the donut, but it looks like Jay Latham's going to give it up right there and fall off underneath the dead man's corner. 16 seconds left to glow. 16 seconds left to go. 6 laps ahead. Glenn Burton there with 471 total laps turned here. And like I said, what I'm seeing here tonight with Glenn Burton, he's definitely going to get to exchange one of those races. He has been on one tonight, folks. Glenn Burden is hitting another gear. This is the Glenn Burden before the series for sure. For those that don't know, Glenn Burden took home a couple wins when we were racing GTP. Whether we were going to do GTP or we were going to do LMP, we ended up settling on LMP. But before that, everybody buying GTP cars. Man, Glenn, he was the guy to beat. We used to call his car the turbo car. Every time we go around the high bank, it sounded like a turbo going off. But we can see him getting into the upper 80s there on Blue Lane, 84, just 6 laps different from our world record here at Lanes Raceway. 474 total laps, 79 average. Jay Latham there, 446. He's trying to bridge the gap. Bruce Bullington there, 437. He's also trying to bridge the gap. So we'll see how it goes as we prevail through this a little bit longer. I'll leave you guys here with a little bit of pinball scores. Be right back with you. All right, I was a little late to the show there, but we're back green racing. Making some comments out there a while ago. So I went out there and checked on some of the racers. And we was talking about Glenn Burden on Black Lane being a Bobby Piercer. Randy Cutler making a comment that he hits about 3 or 4 spots back there where that back end just drags. It's the only thing missing, some sparks flying. As we see the car of Glenn Burden actually coming off there on Yellow Lane through the S-turn portion of the track. He is your current leader, turning 9 laps so far. Jay Latham there in second place, now turning 10 laps. And Bruce Bullington, everybody within a lap or so of each other. It's been a pretty tight race, but tight in a different sort of way. It looks like Glenn Burden kind of stepping out in front of everybody, about 20 or 30 laps ahead. But a tight race between Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington. Within 8 laps of each other currently, they've been given and taken all race long. As we see their medians there, 3.86 and a 3.66. This might be Bruce trying his best to overtake Jay. It's going to boil down to just simply keeping the cars on the track here as the aggression ensues here. But we can see that Glenn Burden there coming off there through the pack there, but he gets put back on quickly by T. Several of these cars coming off there. T fixing a guide flag there on Glenn Burden, getting him put back on. These 3 cars now separating themselves from each other, but we see Bruce Bullington still dive bombing, trying his best to catch as much as he can. Randy Kirtley, of course, slapping that car of Glenn Burden right back on the track and getting Bruce put back on also. Bruce was able to make one of those laps. 24, 26, 27, the difference in your laps turned this heat. heat 7 of 8. After this heat, we're going to have a call for a weigh-in, and then the guys will get as much time as they need to fix their cars. Drop frames tonight, 700. I almost feel like we might have came across something that works here at Lanes Raceway. We got several things going on here, but all season long, CPU, GPU been running around the 40 territory. We've been getting pretty good coverage here, and I'm thankful for that, as we've had so much struggles, but it's been a build-up all the way from the bottom. I find that saving after every single broadcast has helped this program more than anything, versus rebuilding all the time. So maybe that was all it just needed. It just needed a save every time. So it's good that everything's working out. We might actually try to advance up the stream come our next series, now that I know this kind of information, and maybe get some better quality cameras possibly. I really like that. I think the clarity, or fidelity as they call it, of these cameras are just, they leave something to be lacking or liked here. The full detail of these bodies are not coming through the camera. They're more like a blurred out image. But I think if we had a higher quality camera that could do these resolutions, which I guess would be 1080p resolution in one of those screens there, would be a whole lot better. Or even a 4K resolution in that small resolution. That'd be 16K, I suppose. That would be exceptional. Only reason I say that is because you got to multiply it by 4 to be able to get that true resolution, because we're splitting it in 4. So if it's 1080p right now, you would divide 1080p by 4, and that's what the resolution is there in the bottom right-hand screen. But to get an actual true 1080p signal, fidelity signal through, it would have to be a 4K signal. The only problem is with that is whenever you go to shrink it, it doesn't end up being true for some reason. So we have opted for, I guess you would say, like a foveated rendering, essentially, kind of like where you focus your eye at, I guess. But it comes out pixelated looking. Or I guess checkerboard rendering would be a better terminology than foveated. But nonetheless, it comes out pixelated looking, and it shouldn't when it's a 10K resolution. Of course, these cameras say that they're 4K, but they're not. They may say that resolution is true, but like I said, it wouldn't be pixelated if that was the case. It would just be a 1080p resolution, which it isn't. Now, I will say this, some of it is zoomed in. Now, the upper right-hand portion is zoomed in from the camera. If we zoomed out, we would probably get the true resolution. But then at that point, you can't hardly see anything anyway. So bigger iris would probably be a better option to be able to get closer, draw in more light to the camera module, and be able to pick up on those low light environments. Might even be able to dictate detail a little bit better if it has an automatic focus or something. 1 minute left to go. I'm getting off topic here. 538 total laps of Glenn Burden, 65 total laps. He's, like I said, 5 laps ahead of everybody. He's been like this all night long, anywhere from 5 to 10 laps ahead of everybody else. Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington both having some issues with their cars staying on the track. Just my opinion. I believe it simply boils down to body selection. I believe these bodies are just a little bit too heavy, sloshing that weight back and forth, and the center of gravity being a little bit higher because of it, causing these bodies to kind of leak out. We can see Glenn Burden's car is stuck to the ground with the lower center of gravity body from JK there, the LMP Lola body from JK. And a lot of people have swapped to that, and everybody that's swapped to it has definitely been a whole lot quicker. Now, like I said before, their body's definitely not as pretty for sure. The prettiest bodies I've seen are these two are very much up there. But I've seen, let's see, Clay Dame's got one that's a body similar in thickness to what Jay and Bruce has. But it's lower to the ground. It's a Chrysler, and it's very good looking too. It's got like PlayStation emblems and stuff like that on it. But nonetheless, like I said, the battle still ensues between Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington. 512, 519, 74.1 average, 73.1 average, just one lap average different from each other. But like I said, Glenn Burton kind of stepping out on his own there. 555 total laps turned. He's on another level here. So he's just from what we've had here previously. I'm going to get some of that information before we start the next race, and we'll go over some of that information just to see how close, whether or not they're going to be able to replace some races. So 512, 519, 555, that's your top three. So just in perspective, Glenn Burton coming into his 8th heat, this just shows you how much Glenn has developed over the past season. His first race was 555 total laps. He is at 555 total laps right now with one heat left to go. So, he'll be in the 600s for sure. His lowest race right now on one that he can replace is 603. So if he does better than 603 laps, he'll definitely replace a race today. Actually, I'll take that back. If he does better than 580 laps, he will replace a race today. So I think he's going to definitely replace a race today and do that by a whole large amount. Now, as for the 512, I think, and the 515 of Bruce Bullington, he has a 565 to replace. So if he does better than 565, he'll replace a race. And as for Jay Latham, he's going to get this race no matter what. This will be his 7th race. So whatever he comes up with, he will take. For sure coming up. So stay tuned with us. We're weighing in the cars now, and then they get as much time as they need to go back racing. So we'll take you over to the Thunder so that you can see when they come back. It's our main screen here. I'm just going to go over a few numbers, and I'll be right back with you. All right, folks, we are back. All right, racers, watch your lights. Final heat. Here we go, folks. We're going to see those 4 red lights drop out into a green. Had a pretty good conversation there. You've probably seen it in your upper right-hand portion there with Jay Latham, just talking about good consistency. Talking to him about body selection. Of course, I told him, I said, I think some of the biggest issues that we're having here is body selection. Let him know about those Lola bodies. Come in here, took a look at them. And just simply from testing and tuning, brought up the work that we had done messing with a couple other racers, of course, Paul Woodley being one of them, and how that when they swapped over to this body, made popular by Randy Kirtley and Guillermo Sire, that how much of a difference it made, those Lola bodies did, in sheer plantedness of the cars. You can see just watching the car there, Glenn Burden, as it rolls around the donut portion of the track, the hardest part about keeping the car down is just simply aerodynamics and grip. And we can see how well that Glenn Burden's car stays in tow there, coming around that orange track. More snappy staying in tow versus slidey and whippy, essentially. 3 minutes and 54 seconds left to go in the heat. We see Glenn Burden out in the lead yet again by about a lap or so. Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington fighting with everything they got. Jay said he just needs to hold Bruce off for another heat. Well, Bruce and him been kind of battling back and forth here. We see Glenn Burden there kind of popping off there in orange lane a little bit, a little snap through there. We also see Jay Latham coming off there on red lane, giving up a couple laps there. Not what Jay wants to see there to Bruce. Bruce, of course, trying everything he can to gain every lap he possibly can to catch Jay. But he's going to need Jay to come off quite a few more times. Glenn Burden sliding out a little bit on orange lane. I would say out of all the lanes that Glenn has trouble with, I would say orange would be definitely one of them that Glenn has the most trouble. If you go back and watch some of the races with Glenn in it, orange lane he does struggle with. But his power lanes, of course, are definitely down low, the black and the purple lanes. He loves those and does quite well in them. That's where he gets the nickname Bobby Pierce rolling around through there. Made famous by Bobby Pierce, the dirt racer. So he likes to run the high outside there. And like I said, so does Glenn. I would say Randy would constitute to that also. So we get a rider there, that was actually Jay Latham. So Jay Latham riding his own lane, getting put back in his lane. So that's pretty good. Something going on here. My wife running to grab the braid roller. We just freshly had another wet rain condition. That's why it took us so long to get started in this 8th heat. But a little bit of a wet rain condition there on White Lane. I believe the humidity here in Lanes Raceway is causing some of the track to come up from the cool air of the air conditioner on top of the humidity as we get a full speed come apart here between Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington. Randy Kirtley rolling the orange lane there. Glenn Burden about to break that 600 mode. Like I said, anything for Glenn. Let's check some of the boardage here. If he turns over 603 laps or 580 laps, he's going to get a replacement. He's already done that. 2 minutes left to go. And a bit of a hold up there. But he hit the 600 mark there, as he's definitely going to get him a good replacement here. This might actually be one of the high races for Glenn Burden. The highest one I see so far is a 624, but I could be wrong about that. Nope, 626 was his last race. So if he can beat a 626, he will actually beat his previous record. And he looks like he's on par for doing that too. Here with 3-second lap times, he should be able to beat that hands down, keeping his car on as nicely as he has. I gotta hurry and get this put back up here for you guys. One moment. It does this every time we do a race. It wants a timeout on us. But nonetheless, we got her back up there. We see him there now, 6:15. Like I said, he's going to need a 6:26 or better to beat his lap time. He's at 6:17 right now. Definitely has an opportunity here. He's going to need 7 laps here. He's got one of them and a track call there with 30 seconds left to go. Needs 4 more laps. I think he's going to be able to get more like 10 laps here, so he's probably going to end up beating his 6:26 for sure. Jay Latham, of course, going to be able to keep his. Bruce Bullington with a 5:78. Let's see here. Just checking what we got here. He's going to be able to replace a 5:65, it looks like. Ten seconds left to go. Looks like Glenn Burden was able to beat his best time now in the 6:30 range. And that's all she wrote. Glenn Burden's going to finish it with 6:32. All right, congratulations, racer Glenn, Jay, Bruce. If you don't mind, please meet it at the podium for your picture. All right, so folks, here tonight we can see Glenn Burden getting a 6:32. His previous best ran, let's just go over that real quick, was a 6:26, so he beat that hands down. Jay Latham there with a 5:91. Not his best that he's ran. The last race he ran a 5:99, and that was his best. So, but it's his second best actually. So Jay Latham going to be pretty pleased with that as he's increasing in speed. Bruce Bullington with a 5:87. We can see that that's definitely not his best. As his best was in the 600s. A 6:24 for Bruce was his best. And we can see that Bruce Bullington tonight got a 5:87. And what I'm seeing here, he's not going to be able to do any kind of replacement tonight with that. Well, nope, he will actually. He'll get to replace a 5:65. So Bruce is going to replace a 5:65 race for his 5:87 and gain a few more laps. So all of our racers here are very much successful tonight when it goes to being able to replace some of their slower races or even add to one of the races. Of course, Jay, this will be his 7th race of 8. We'll try to get that updated for you as we continue on here. We'll go out there and have a quick word with our leader and maybe some of the other guys, and then we'll end the stream there. Glenn Burke, words for the fans. So tonight you broke your record, 6:32. That's the most. And then your Sunday race was the most that you ran. Now you beat that record. I'm starting to see a trend here. We're heading the right direction with this monster body. I've been saying it all night long. I think the bodies are mattering a whole lot more than we initially thought. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Plus moving the weight around. Paul Woosley helped a lot with that. That made the car handle a whole lot better.
Yeah, Paul Woosley, of course, right now our current lap leader when it comes to turning the most. I think he turned a 6:89. I think he actually broke that record Sunday. I can't remember right offhand what that was. 6:98. So 6:98, that's the highest that we've seen. Of course, 90 laps in one segment is the most that we've seen. That's tied with him and Randy Kirtley. But at the pace that you're heading with this tonight, hardly any wrecks I've seen. That body was just hooked in tow with those new big boy rubber tires on the back. This coming Sunday, are we expecting to break this record yet again?
We're going to keep trying. The more laps you turn, the better off you are.
All right, Glenn. Well, we're excited to see Monster Body back out here next coming Sunday. Bruce.
Yes, sir.
You're going to get to replace a race here. I think the lowest you had was like a 560 something. So you're going to be able to replace that with this 587 here. All night tonight, everybody's going to be able to get a little bit of bump up when it comes to the current standings at the LMP Thunder. But what I did notice is a little bit of trouble there tonight staying on the track. You possibly let everybody know what could be possibly the issue there.
Trying too hard, overdriving, car control. I was over my head. I didn't. I should have been braking instead of throttling.
Do you think that the 3 or 4 rain delays that we had here at the track tonight probably played a pretty big influence in maybe the mental constitution of being able to get in the groove too?
Well, that's possible, but that didn't bother me as much as just me overdriving and wrecking and getting mad at myself and then not thinking things through. Just, missed my mark.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there where we kind of get in our heads. Yeah.
We got a brake zone, and I whopped it a few times.
It happens. It happens to the best of us. Jay Latham, this is your 7th of 8th race here, 591. This is actually, I believe, your second best race you've done so far with 591 laps. Your best, of course, being 599. What have you done different with your car to get it towards the upper portions of these laps? Some of your other ones were in the 400s. What have you done different this week than you did last week?
I just I switched out different motor, but it's just not fast enough. But I'm going to switch back to a different motor. But I got everything freed up and sitting lower to the track, and everything. It seems to handle better.
Yeah, and handling in this is definitely a big deal. Of course, I know if you talk to Glenn and Paul Woosley, they would attest that those big boy hub tire, fish tires, help so much around the donut portion of the track. And the funny thing is, those tires are the same weight as our medium compound, smaller hub tires too. But yeah, what are you going to do come next week? Are you going to do anything different? Or are you going to bring her back in here this coming Sunday in the same fashion?
Well, I might add some weight or might try some of them big hub tires. Who knows? But I'll be doing something.
Well, I'm excited to hear, as I am excited to hear from every racer that does a little bit of different modification, as it just helps everybody when it comes to knowledge of being able to push forward slot car racing into that more perfection route that we all want to see. We want to all see of us breaking those records. Right now, like I said, 90 on Blue Lane is the record to beat. I'm wanting to see before this series is over, somebody hit that 91 mark. So if you can increase anything, increase those average times, increase those fastest laps and stuff like that, we're always interested in trying to get that information out to all the racers so that we can keep pushing that forward. So yeah, definitely let us know about that. And Jay, thank you for coming and racing here on Thursday. I know sometimes it's kind of hard for you to get here on Thursdays. But definitely come back and see us Sunday. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
All right, everybody, that's it here for the LMP Thunder Series here at Lanes Raceway. Thank you guys and gals for watching. As of course, we're going to be back here this coming Sunday for our Rookie Rumble, Little Rumble, and LMP Thunder Series race. So definitely come back and check that out. We're starting to dwindle down. This is the last week to enter into any of these series. You will not be able to enter into the series after this weekend, this Sunday. This Sunday, also, all those that haven't paid to enter the series is due. So we've held that over for the whole series, basically giving people time to make payments on it if they needed to or whatever. That is due by this Sunday. If not, you will be ineligible for the series. It's a pretty big deal. So definitely make sure, if you're one of those, to get your series up and paid for, as we're going to start delegating that money as we get closer and closer to the end of August, which will be the end of the series, to prepare for the banquet upcoming. But like I said, thank you all for watching. This is Don McCurtley here at Lanes Raceway. God bless you.